Hey guys, what's up? It's Panda here and welcome back to another video. This is episode 4 on my Bukkit coding tutorials. Today we're going to be talking about configurations, how to use configurations, basically getting data from configurations. We're not going to go over setting data in configurations in this episode. We're going to save that for another episode. But yeah, so we can hop right into it. So today what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using a event handler, the player join event, to set the custom join messages using a configuration file. So I've already recorded this video once now. I realized that I was being stupid and the audio was off. So please just kind of disregard that some of these things are already set up. I will still go over how to set them up and why we set them up, but some of them are already set up, like our config.yml and such. But yes, what we want to start off is we want to implement our listener like we have been before, and we want to create a new player join event. So once we've done that, we want to do string join message equals get config dot get string. Now we want to create the path that we want to get the string from. So in our config section, we're going to have a area called join message. So we're getting the join message from the config, and we're going to set the join message to this join message variable. So now that we're getting data from a config, basically what you do is get config.getString, or get whatever you want to get. You can get ints, booleans, doubles, players, a bunch of different things, and you will just want to set the path that you're getting it from. So now to register a config, we're going to create a new method called public void register config, and inside we're going to write save default config. Now the reason we're using a spelled that wrong. The reason that we are using a method a method for this is because I could add different things in here for the config that eventually more complex plugins will use. I'm only using one line here, so I could just use this one line up here, but it's just better practice to use those kind of things in methods. So we're going to put in our onEnable that we want to register the config. And now that we have that set up, we're going to, let me save this to get rid of the errors. We're going to go to, we're going to create a new file, and we're going to call it config.yml. And once we've created it, as it said, I've already recorded this. Once we've created it, one thing you should know about YML files, for configs at least, the comment type, so instead of // like we do in classes, we can do pound signs, or some people call them sharp signs if you're musical, or hashtags if you live in the 21st century. So we're going to use this, and we can just write config plugins config. So now we can create the join message path like we did before, and we could call it player joined the game. So as you can see, we're using these quotes instead of double quotes because that's what YML files like. I'm not going to argue with it. We're just going to set it with what it is. So now that we've saved this, let me go here, delete the, config. Let me delete the old one. And now if I export this, and leave and join, it doesn't work. That's because I forgot to register our events. So if I do this .get server .get plugin manager .register event. So the reason we're using register event instead of register events, the reason we're using register events instead of these two register event classes is because these take extra arguments that we just don't want. We don't want to handle. We don't want to do that right now. But yeah. So I had someone comment in the last video that they wanted to see me explain why I'm using different functions for different things. So I'm going to try to be doing that a little bit better. So again, yeah, but that is why we're using register events instead of register event. It's because register event takes more arguments than we're willing to give right now. So if I reload that and I disconnect, first thing we want to see is that in our plugins folder, we create the folder called configs, because that's the name of the plugin that we gave it. And now config.yml appears. So now if we open it, you'll see this inside of it. That's what we set before. So now if I join the server, it says player joined the game. Now, of course, we don't want it to say player. We want it to say my name. So the way we do that is we're going to use custom placeholders. Now, if you've seen other plugins, placeholders usually follow a pattern of something like %player %. You could also do $player, or basically any type of text you want to use as a placeholder. So now we're going to use this placeholder, and now we have to set the placeholder in our code. So what we're going to do is getConfig.getString.replace, and we want to use the second replace in here, and we want to replace %player % with p.getName. So now we're replacing the player variable with the player's name. So if we export this, save this, reload, if I now log out and join, it says a brave panda joined the game. So that's setting custom placeholders. You can do multiple ones if you want to add another one. Basically, after the end of this replace, you just add another dot and just put another replace. And then you could do the next variable that you want to do, and you can continue doing that for a while. Eventually, you could create a method that would do this for you, but for your sake, you're probably only going to have a couple variables, so it's not worth it. Just use just the dot replace right now. So another thing a lot of people wonder is, how do you add chat colors to it? Because as you can see, it just says my name joined the game, and it's not that fancy, you know, so it doesn't look good. So let's make it look nice. So basically, if you guys know the Bukkit chat colors, or the Minecraft chat colors, and B or and 6 is gold. So we'll set this message to gold. So we want to set this. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to take all of this, besides the semicolon, we're going to cut it with Control X, and we're going to type chat color dot translate alternate color codes, and we're going to want to use the org.bucket. So first thing it takes is the character that we want to replace. So we want to replace the and, because that's what we're using. We're using and 6. So we want to replace the and then the text that we want to translate. And the text is this text right here, the thing we cut. So now if we export it and reload, save that. If I join, it'll say in gold, a brave panda joined the game. So basically it's saying if we see any and then letters or numbers, if it is a chat color, then replace it with the correct chat color. So that's how you add color code support to your config files. And lastly, what we're going to do is enabling. So say we want the player to be able to enable or disable that join message. So what we can do is we can create a new variable, and we'll call this boolean join message enabled. So for those of you who don't know what a boolean is either true or false. So if we do equals get config dot get boolean join message enabled, and then we can do if join message enabled equals true, we can do this. So it set this join message. And then if it's not, we can do e.set join message blank. So there is no join message. So now if we go into our config file and do join message enabled, and we'll set this as true, and let's actually just cut it and put it up here. If I export it, reload, one thing I want you to note first is that you can see this is our original config.yml. This has not been updated because what we have to do is, because we're creating the new config, because we updated the config, we want to delete our old config, reload the server, and wait for the new config to be created. And we can now, we can now put our old one back, and you can see it's been updated. So now, if we reload and disconnect and join the server again, it says I still join the game because I set it to true. But if I set it to false, save it, reload, disconnect, and join again, I won't get a join message. The reason it's saying welcome to my server, Brave Panda, is because that's the one that we used for the events episode. I just haven't deleted the plugin off the server, but that is why we're getting that message. So the original message still hasn't sent. As you see, we don't get any errors in the console. And yeah, that's basically the beginning basics to using configs. Eventually, if you're going to use multiple classes, which I think we're going to go over next episode, but if you're using multiple classes, you are going to do a couple different things you could possibly do. You could use getters and setters for your config. There already are getters and setters, but you could use custom getters and setters, which I wouldn't recommend unless you're using a big plugin that's going to be using a lot of config messages. Another thing you could do is a messages file, where it is just a class called messages, and it just holds a bunch of strings for you. But yeah, there's different, bunch of different things that you can use config files for. Mostly it's for customization in your plugin. So I hope you liked this episode. If you have any questions or comments, put them in the comment section below. And if you liked this video, like, subscribe, and comment. And thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.